Hello guys, it's Amaz here, and welcome to another episode of Pick a Card. If you missed the first one, make sure to watch it back again over here. We'll put a thumbnail over here. It was really fun. So let's try again and see if you guys can get 10 out of 10 this time around. This video is made with my friends over at Pro Guides, who just opened a new session on Hearthstone strategy guides and video content. If you like cool videos like these, you should definitely check them out. Why not also sign up for the free trial while you're there? For those of you who missed the first one and just want to dive into this video, what we do in Pick a Card is we look at some arena picks and we analyze which one is the better choice for that specific run. Some of the picks are very early on, while some of the picks are, mid-draft. And I'm gonna go over my analysis, what cards are good, what cards are bad, and what you should choose ultimately for the most wins in the arena. Alright, so let's dive right into it. The first one we have is a Druid arena run, where we already picked a few cards here, as you can see. It's actually pretty good. All of these cards are pretty high quality. We have Charged Devil's Sword, which is choppy, of course, really powerful. Lotus Agents, Druid the Claw. And now we're offered a choice of a rare. We have Bone Drake, which is a 6/5 that pretty much is the epitome of value. We have Stampeding Kodo, the classic 5-mana 3/5 that kills something below 2 attack. And we also have Moonglade Portal, which is very powerful, restores 6 health, and summons a random 6-drop that hopefully is not say hello to my little friend, right? Which one would you guys pick here? So my choice is very obvious. It would definitely be the Moonglade Portal. Power level of Moonglade Portal is super high because you do something in addition to summoning a 6-drop, right? If you look at the old card, which is the Forbidden Shaping, you can pretty much play 6 mana for Forbidden Shaping to summon a 6-drop and be very happy about it, right? Moonglade Portal blows that out of the water because you can restore 6 health. Most of the time, you can use it on your face, so restoring 6 health to your hero, which is not nothing, right? Restoring 6 health is pretty big deal. But when you really break the card, is when you restore 6 health to one of your minions that are already on the board. So you get a big tempo lead because, you're getting more stats on the board, and you get an initial 6-drop, right? So when it works wonders. It could even work better than the Fireline's Portal, for example. Bone Drake is a little bit more value-oriented, but not as valuable as Moonglade Portal, I believe, because it's something that happens immediately, whereas Bone Drake, you need to die before you draw a dragon. Sure, all the dragons are really good, and I wouldn't even consider Stampeding Kodo here because the other two cards are just so much higher in power level that you would be looking at those instead. Alright, onwards to pick number 2. We're close to finishing up with our Hunter draft here. There are a lot of good gems littered around, right? I mean, most of the high end is really, very solid. It doesn't seem like a typical Hunter deck, where usually it's a lot of, 1-drops and 2-drops, and Eaglehorn Bow or Kill Command to finish your opponent off. It's more like a mid-range Hunter with your Savannah high mains. The early game is also pretty strong with a lot of decent 2-drops and your Death Speakers and Frost Riders, really powerful. And now with the add to that list either a Scavenging Hyena, a second Kill Command, or the first Deadly Shot. So all these cards kind of do different things, right? Scavenging Hyena is the only minion in this set, which helps out if we have a lot of beast synergy. If you look at the deck list, Kill Command is the second one. It's the second copy if we're going to draft this. We already have one. For the second one, if we have a lot of beasts, can push a lot of damage, and also works as a pseudo removal. And of course, we have Deadly Shot, which is a removal spell, which this list currently don't have. It seems pretty obvious, but hey, it's early on right now in the pick a card. So which one would you pick? It is pretty obvious here. It's a good warm-up, I guess, but Deadly Shot is definitely the pick here because it is an effect that we currently don't have yet, which is just a removal card that doesn't really care about what your opponent has on the board. It removes anything from a 3-drop, which is fine, right? Daily Shard removing a 3-drop. I need to see more people doing that because a 3-mana card removing a 3-mana card is very, very decent. And of course, at the late game, it could even kill like a 6-drop or something, which is really, really powerful. So once again, Deadly Shot is very, very key in this meta to remove minions from your opponent's board because we have things like Kobold Scalebane and Bone Mare to buff minions that are already on the board. So you really get punished if you don't clear your opponent's board sometimes. So yeah, Deadly Shot is the pick. Alright, onwards to pick number 3, we have Mage. Let's be honest, if you look at this deck list, you kind of already did it. I mean, this deck is ridiculous. Like, look at this, alright? We have AoEs, we have Frosted Jaina, we have 2 Servant of Kalimos, and the early game is like pretty insane. Like, come on. Honestly, if we were to pick Angry Chicken in this pick, it would be fine because like this deck is insane. But no, we have 3 insane picks already. Again, we have Flame Geyser, which is like a premium 2-drop removal spell that also gets added an elemental, which is not nothing, right? This deck has a lot of elemental synergy currently. Our second picture is Raw Elemental. Once again, a premium 4-drop in Mage. It's a 4-mana 3/6, which, you know, if there's no text on this card is already insane. And on top of that, it has freeze effect. And you added the elemental tag for the synergy. Yeah, this card is just insane. And our last card is Arcanologist, arguably one of the best 2-drops in the entire game because it's a 2-mana 2/3 that draws a card, right? Super powerful. I don't think there's any other card that's close to this power level. So this is going to be a very hard pick, but honestly, all the picks would be fine for this deck. But of course, we want to pick the best one. So which one would it be? Alright, well this is certainly a hard pick, but at the end of the day, I think I'm going to go with the Flame Geyser. Flame Geyser is something that we don't currently have. It's a 2-mana deal 2 damage. Sure, we have Arcane Missiles, which is kind of similar, but Flame Geyser help you stabilize the board pretty well. Flame Geyser does also deal 3 damage at 4 because you have your hero power. And of course, the Flame Elemental it produces helps out the Servant of Kalimos. Basically, the pick of Flame Geyser just smooths out our mana curve really, really well because it's a 2-mana card that gives us a 1-mana card. You can play it at any time of the game and be very, very happy about it. But let's be honest, right? If you pick a Water Elemental here, you'd be super happy. Water Elemental curving the Servant of Kalimos is a very, very strong play. And of course, Arcanologist drawing our Potion of Polymorph, and if we draft more Secret Slayer, it's gonna be even better. Will fit really, really well in this deck as well because we don't have a lot of 2-drops right now. But I think to bridge the synergy level, the curve purposes, and also bring in, you know, just a nice flexible deck, the Flame Geyser is the best option here. And I'll be very, very happy to play this deck because it looks like it's going to be 12 wins, honestly. Alright, onwards to the next pick. This is a complete 180 from the Mage deck list just now, which is insane. We have a Rogue deck list that doesn't seem like it's doing too well. And it's on the verge of disaster. I mean, if you just glance over this deck, there are a few good cards. You know, you have your Envenom Weapons. The 4-drop seems alright, but there are some cards that are really, really bad. As you can see, I mean, we don't want Roll the Bones or Gurubashi or Menagerie Magician. There's a lot of things that are making this arena deck not too good. But to prevent this from being a train wreck, we have this pick, so hopefully we can turn things around. We have the best rogue commons. We have Backstab, which is the most ridiculous card ever. 0-mana cards are very, very strong, and this one deals damage. So that's definitely a frontline contender for the best pick in this specific draft. We have Sap, which is also insane. It's a 2-mana remove something, gains you a huge tempo swing, and if you sap something that they just played for the turn, so for example, like at turn 6 they played a 6-drop, you effectively got an extra turn for 2 mana, right? Time Walk, as you can see, is 5 mana. Why not play Time Walk for 2? And finally, we have Plague Scientist, which is a superb card It basically combos to give a minion infinite attack if they trade. So it trades really, really well upwards. And it helps if you have a lot of token cards. So if you can see, we have Egg Napper and we have Grim Necromancer. So we have a few cards that make some tokens, which is really, really good. So which insane real card would you pick here? Alright, so at the end of the day, I think Arena is all about tempo. You need to get on board. When you have a lot of stuff on the board, then you have more options available to you. So the best tempo card in these picks is the Backstab. Not only can you use Backstab early game to combine with like a 2-drop, so say, you know, you play Rockpool Hunter, you backstab their creature, and it's, you know, a big tempo swing, right? Backstab also helps a lot when it's late game. When you are drawing so many cards, such as, you know, you have your Sprint in your deck, and this deck is generally very high-end, right? You need a good mixture of cheap cards and expensive cards to weave it in such that you take advantage of all your mana every turn. You know, we call that efficient spending of your mana. And basically, Backstab throws that all of the water because you can cast it anytime, right? So the more cards you play in a turn, the stronger that turn. I wouldn't fault you picking Sap either, because Sap is, once again, the tempo card. This deck really does need extra turns. And if you have small minions, so your opponent, say, plays, you know, 2 small creatures, like 2-3 drops in turn 6, well, you can probably deal with them with your minions, or even stuff like Envenom Weapon that's found in this deck, right? I don't think Play Sand is good enough in this deck, because this deck is nearing towards a lot of big creatures. Sure, you can summon a lot of small minions with your other cards. It does require to have a board. And if I look at this deck list with the amount of cards that don't really do much in terms of board presence, such as Sprint, Roll the Bones, and then Venom Weapons, I think Play Santis is a little bit too dangerous to pick. So Backstab it is. Alright, so the next pick is a Paladin pick, and this is the first pick. Now, keep in mind that this will never happen in a real game in a Hearthstone, because right now we have the synergy pick, right? So right now we have the synergy pick that Blizzard has implemented to kind of spice things up in Arena, but a lot of players in Hearthstone, a lot of streamers, for example, they don't really like the synergy pick because it really limits the amount of options that Arena decks can look like. And also the synergy picks sometimes are just bad. You would never pick them. But let's just say if Blizzard removes the synergy picks, then you can have this. And this is a very interesting choice. We have Rallying Blade, which is one of the Paladin weapons that's really, really good at 3 mana. It's kind of like the Fire War Axe with an extra upside, right? Fireworks got kind of screwed in the latest patch. We have Sunwalker, which is tried and true, one of the best classic cards that just makes it very hard for your opponent to trade into your minions. Makes it really difficult for your opponent to make a good play if they don't have a ping hero power, because it's a 4/5 with Divine Shield. It's gonna get a lot of value. And of course, we have the Aldor Peacekeeper, which is also one of the signature cards in Paladin, because it just nullifies one of your opponent's big threats. So realistically, we're looking at Sunwalker and Aldor Peacekeeper versus the new card of Rallying Blade, right? So which one do you guys fancy here? Well, weapons are really strong in Arena, and you're always happy to take one because on paper, they're always 2-for-1, right? I think Rallying Blade is not the choice here because the other minions are way more insane, right? I mean, Aldor Peacekeeper is a 2-for-1 on paper. It's a 3/3 for 3, which is already doable, which is already fine. And you also get to cast a free Humility, which is effectively a 2-for-1. Sunwalker is also a 2-for-1, but I think Aldor Peacekeeper is the pick here if you compare Aldor Peacekeeper to Sunwalker, right? Aldor Peacekeeper you can play very early on. You know, a 3/3 that basically removes your opponent's 3/3 is a very, very good early gameplay. And also in the late game, if your opponent, say, you know, has one of the insane commons, like, you know, Bone Mare's one of their cards, you can actually Aldor Peacekeeper and flip the table around and actually have a chance of winning that game. Whereas, you know, cards like Sunwalker and Rallying Blade do kind of fall off in the late game, or do kind of fall off when you don't play them on curve, right? Rallying Blade is best played on 3, Sunwalker is best played on 6, Aldor Peacekeeper, though, is best played on if you have 3 mana. So whenever you want to answer one of your opponent's big threats, Aldor is there for you. So pick him and be very happy about your first pick in Arena. Next up, we have a Rogue draft, which is very early on. We have a Shapu, which is very, very fun. And then we have Ethereal Peddler to combo with Shapu. And of course, we have a lot of cards that are, you know, they're not filler. They're pretty respectable on their end. So then we get offered a Legendary. Now that's pretty exciting, right? So we're on the road to having a very, very good Rogue deck. And then this happens. We get offered a Legendary from Millhouse Manastorm, Lore Walker Cho, and Prince Keleseth. I mean, if you were to pick the most useless 2-mana legendaries, then this would be the pick, right? So we still have to pick a card because it is Arena and we can't mulligan our drafts. Which of these abysmal 2-drops do you think is the best for this deck? So, looking at the deck list, looking at the cards, because the power level of our cards are so high, and we're actually super happy with not train wrecking any games, we're gonna go with the Prince Keleseth here. The reason is, it's because it's the only card that doesn't really give us a negative effect, right? There are places where, you know, Millhouse Manastorm can just lose you the spot immediately. I mean, we are playing an Arena meta with Druids picking Ultimate Infestation every single time, right? If you play Millhouse and they play Ultimate Infestation, that's game over. And there are also a lot of cards that do that, right? You know, they're just good spells all in every single class. One of the only classes that don't have good spells is Warrior. And then we're playing Rogue as well, right? Rogue is known for having one of the best array of spells that you can get. So Lore Cho, even though it looks like it's going to be fine because we don't have a lot of spells, we're going to be picking up every single spell we see. So Lore Cho is definitely not the pick. So let's pick Prince Keleseth. Let's just play a 2-mana 2/2. And sometimes it works. Sometimes we draw all our 2-drops and play Prince and it gets a little bit of value. But here, we're just going to focus on not throwing any one Arena games. And let's just help our consistency of this deck. Next, we have draft number 7. Hope you guys are doing well and you know, you have a lot of points right now. These last few picks, picks 7 to 10, is gonna be the hard ones. So let's try and go for a challenge here. The Shaman deck list right now looks pretty filled up. We are about near to the end, and we are offered some nice little rares here. But let's look at the deck list first, right? We have a very nice curve. Most of our cards are pretty fair. I wouldn't say there's any unfair cards. I think the most unfair things you can do in this deck is the Neurobeam Prophets coupled with the Evolve. But, you know, otherwise, they just seem like, you know, pretty good cards. And, you know, you have your Charged Devil Sword in the late game, which is very, very important. So we don't really need a lot of late game anymore. So what can we do to fill out the weaknesses of this deck? We have our first choice, Moat Lurker. 6 mana 3/3 with, you know, remove something from your opponent's battlefield until this kind of dies, I guess. Has a very, very good synergy with Evolve because you effectively treat Moat Lurker as a removal and you get a 7-drop. And 7-drops are pretty decent, right? We have our next one, which is Devolve, which is kind of like an AOE spell, which I am actually pretty impressed by nowadays. I played a lot of Shaman these days, and Devolve seems to be alright every time I pick it. So that's a contender. We have a Corrupted Seer and a Volcano for AOE, so this would be, you know, our next AOE spell. And then finally, we have Pharaoh Spirits, the classic 3-mana Overload 2, summon 2 Pharaoh Dojis to the battlefield, which is really good at stabilizing, and is a very good early game too. And of course, the Overload cost is something that you need to play around, but it should be very easy to play around Overload when you are a Shaman. So 3 pretty interesting picks here. It is pretty challenging to pick one here, but which one would you pick? Alright, for me, it's actually very, very obvious. I would definitely slam jam the Devolve. There is a saying at Arena where you never pass up AOE. which is said by every single arena streamer out there. And that's because it's true, right? AoEs is one of the ways that not only is good when you're ahead on board, so you basically crush your opponent, it's also good when you're behind on the game, when you kind of want to get back in or hope for a miracle, right? And Devolve is really, really good for that. Devolve can just wipe your opponent's board out of taunts so they can go face, or the best situation for Devolve is when you use it when your opponent plays Bone Mare, or when your opponent plays Cobalt Scalebane, or stuff like Spike Rusty. It's because the buff that is granted to the minion does not increase his mana cost, right? And those cards are considered ridiculous in Arena. So Devolve is a very, very nice answer to that. There are some cases where Devolve can also help you make some weird boards trade situations. For example, if your opponent has 6-drop and you have no way to win the game other than devolving your opponent to like a Bittertide Hydra for lethal, that can work, right? If there's like a 0.1% chance to win a game, you are going to take it compared to like a 0% chance of winning the game. So Devolve is just all around a very solid card. I've been very impressed with this rare that I have shrugged off in the previous expansions because previous expansions does not have a lot of buff cards. But now I love the card. I don't even want to consider the other cards, even though they have, you know, one's a very cool combo card with Evolve that we have, and the other is a just a solid Shaman card. I think Devolve is just over the top and definitely my pick here. Alright, pick number 8 is the Warlock deck list here, and you know, I was reading the comments from the first video and you guys wanted some more realistic deck lists. So this is a pretty realistic deck list. I mean, most of these cards are pretty normal. Notable cards in this deck list include the AoE cards, which is Spellfire and Doom. So we have a very, very good late game. Our early game is, you know, pretty good as well. I mean, it's not that ridiculous. We're playing some Shallow Gravediggers, which is actually just terrible in the early game. And we have stuff like Direwolf Alpha and whatnot. So, you know, if we get through the early game, we're probably gonna win. So, what we're looking for in this deck realistically is some big minion, right? We have a lot of AoE spells to kind of stabilize on our board, but we need a win condition. And so far our win conditions are Bone Drake and Frozen Crusher, which is fine. I mean, they're solid beaters. We really want to find something like a good 7-drop, like a Bog Creeper, or like a good 8-drop, stuff like Primordial Drake. But we are offered another AoE spell, right? We have a choice between Shadow Flame, Fellfire Potion, and Defile. And all these cards are basically serve the same purpose of AoEs. So effectively, we're just analyzing which one is the best for our deck. So which AoE spell here do we think suits this deck the most? So the pick here is actually going to be Defile because this deck is looking as if it wants to get to the late game, and as long as it survives the early game, then it can basically win, right? Either through card advantage or through like a big creature like Bone Drake or Frozen Crusher. Later on the draft, we are going to prioritize looking for some premium big cards such as like Bog Creepers and stuff like that. But for now, we really need to get to that point, right? And Defile is one of the cards that can help us get there. We also have a lot of value cards, such as Shallow Gravediggers, that really want us to kind of grind the game out. Defile will help us get there. And Defile is also a card that I've been very impressed with. There are a lot of board states they can maneuver around for Defile to basically be a 2-mana Twisting Nether. And of course, that requires you to have like a little bit of skills. So if you have 200 IQ, then perhaps that's gonna help you out. But Defile is the pick here, and will help up your Hearthstone game because there's gonna be so many board states where you're gonna wonder how you can actually clear the board with Defile. So very good card, definitely the pick. Next one, we have a Warlock pick, and this one is ridiculous. This one is actually ridiculous. We have Blast Crystal Potion, Abyssal Enforcer, and Bone Mare. I mean, good god, if you open this as your early pick in Arena, you're gonna be so happy, right? A 4-mana card that just kills anything is super good in Warlock. Abyssal Enforcer just basically wipes the board, and then we have Bone Mare, which is, you know, a 7-mana 9/9. What can you go wrong with a 7-mana 9/9, right? So, which one did you pick here? Alright, so the pick here is definitely Abyssal Enforcer because there's a reason why Blizzard nerfed the pick rate of this card, right? It's a 7 mana 6/6. It's a solid body, it's not nothing, right? If you compare it to a Ball Creeper, it is, you know, it does lose taunt and it's 2 health less, so it's significantly worse. But the battle cry it's just ridiculous, right? And the battle cry is to cast a Hellfire. So technically speaking, you are casting a 3 mana 6/6 that draws you a Hellfire for 4 mana and plays it for you immediately, right? Which is like, this card is just very, very unbeatable. There are some decks which just auto-fold to this. I can't imagine a Shaman or like a Paladin facing against Abyssal Enforcer and winning the game, right? Especially if it just wipes their board. So Abyssal Enforcer is a slam jam YOLO pick here, super easy. Bone Mare is insane, right? Bone Mare just wins games because you can, as a Warlock, you're gonna prioritize a lot of 1-drops because, you know, you have your hero power of tap. So if you tap into a 1-drop at turn 3, it's not the end of the world. And of course, if you have a lot of cards, you wanna weave in your mana costs really, really well, right? So Bone Mare's good, but it's nowhere close to the Abyssal Enforcer pick, right? The power level is just not even close. And of course, Blast Crystal Potion is really, really good, but as a Warlock, you're gonna have a lot of choices to pick removal, right? Warlocks are like the king of removal, especially AOE, right? Sure, single target removal is really hard to come by in Warlocks, such as Siphon Soul, you have Blast Crystal, but we're in a meta where it's better to play a lot of minions early game and then buff them up and trade. So then if that's the meta, then Abyssal Enforcer just basically wipes all your opponent's minions from getting Bone Mare and stuff like that. So Blast Crystal Pusher is not really that important when your opponent is playing a lot of different small minions. And the final pick we have is a Warrior draft. I think the best choice for this draft is the 4th option, which is retire and pick a better class. But hey, we got here already, so let's not waste 150 gold, right? We have, it's very early on. We only have 3 picks, and we have a Frothing Berserker, Southsea Captain, and Tovir Stoneshaper, which is actually a very, very good start. We have a choice between Firefly, which is the 1-drop, Elemental, which, you know, helps up our Stoneshaper, a little bit of synergy early on. We have Bloodsail Raider, which is a 2 mana 2/3, which is Pirate, has a little bit of synergy of Southsea Captain, and if we come across a few weapons, that would be a bit better. And then we have Grim Necromancer, which is a 4 mana 2/4 that summons 2 1/1s. But hey, it's a 4 mana 4/6, right? This is actually a very, very difficult choice because all 3 of these cards I can imagine being in this deck, and I'd be pretty happy with this. So, which one would you pick here? This pick is actually the hardest one because it might be a bit surprising. Which one I would pick here? I would actually pick the Firefly because there's a lot of situations where you just want to do stuff every turn in Arena, and Firefly helps smooth out that curve because they're both 1 mana cards. It's very easy to slot it in every time you have 1 mana floating or excess 1 mana. You guys might think the pick was Bloodsail Raider, which, you know, I think Bloodsail Raider would fit into this deck pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's a 2 mana 2/3. Sure, it gets buffed by weapons, and sure, it gets buffed by Southsea Captain, but the curve right now in Arena is so much more important than anything else that I think Firefly being a, you know, you can say that it's like a 2 mana 2/4. I kind of treat it more as like a 2 mana 2/2. That also helps out our Stoneshaper right now. Is going to be really, really well. Plus, on the upside, it does actually synergize with Frothing Berserker. It's an extra body for Frothing Berserker to go nuts, right? Say you play Firefly on turn 2, you know, both bodies, and your opponent plays like a Pompous Thespian or something, right? And then you play Frothing Berserker and trade in all your Fireflies onto it. Then you suddenly got a 3 mana 6/4. And you can actually just win the game in that, right? Arena right now is very, very about, you know, playing efficiently, lots of versatility and flexibility with your curve because you want to go over the top in every game with stuff like Scalebane and Bone Mare, and you can only do that if you utilize your mana every single turn and you play a lot of small minions. So that's what I think it is. How many picks did you do that were the same as mine? And did you agree with my analysis of the picks? Let me know. You can comment down below. You can also check out my stream for more arena picks, and you can also check out Pro Guides for, you know, more knowledge on Hearthstone and Arena. In Constructed, there's a lot of cool decks there. Good luck in Arena, and if you got a high score, then you're probably doing really well in this meta. So go ahead and load up an Arena run and go get yourself a very nice 12 wins.